struggle, you may have lied. Maybe you're hopeless, mixed up inside. Maybe there's heaven, and maybe there's...
Are you ready to start working on our next case in Kankakee?
I am. I can't wait to figure out what we can come up with and maybe assist the officers here in solving this.
What did you think about Deborah Farland's case?
Well, it's a typical, kind of a sad case. She's pregnant.
5 months pregnant?
5 months pregnant. Young kids are probably the most damning deaths, but to lose a baby.
No. Steve and I have extended our stay here in Illinois to work with the Kankakee Police Department on another case, the unsolved homicide of 21-year-old Deborah Farland and her unborn child. She was a beautiful young mother-to-be caught in a love triangle with a man who was engaged to be married to another woman, a man that she claimed was the father of her baby. She goes missing on September the 23rd, 1987. Her remains are found about 2 months later.
When you look at the reports and what wasn't done,
I feel like there were all these people in Kankakee that knew her situation, but the details of what they knew aren't really documented. How were they getting along? How did she feel about being pregnant? How did she feel about her boyfriend that she seemed to still be pretty in love with getting married on her? How did that new bride feel about the fact that Deborah wasn't leaving him alone? And now we just got to figure out who's alive 37 years later, and what do they remember?
For sure.
When Deborah Farland was murdered back in 1987, her case wasn't investigated as thoroughly as it would be today. And it's a sore subject for the Kankakee Police Department, who has received much criticism from the community and Deborah's family for the past 30 years.
Can you imagine living your whole life like that where your daughter is found murdered and nothing appears to have been done? I mean, I can see why people lose faith in law enforcement. I honestly can.
I had to pray to God to keep you going so that I wouldn't be bitter. I think for the Black community, you want the same justice, but you don't hold out hope. You just learn to live with it.
I know from talking to Detective Logan Anderson and his boss, Donnell Austin, that they are trying to fix all that. I mean, the DA seems fired up, and I know for sure the police department is. We might have some luck. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, we had some good luck with Jeanette's case, so maybe we'll get the same kind of luck with Deborah Farland's case. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
we're pretty hopeful. In 1987, I know I'm the oldest one here, I just started working at the DA's office because it's 36 years ago. What were y'all doing then?
I was 7 years old.
I was sophomore in high school.
In high school?
I was not born for several more years.
We're going to get cranking again?
Absolutely.
So back then, 37 years ago, at the time this happened, she was only 21 years old, right?
Correct. She had a good family core, 4 sisters. Dad has passed, but Mom actually still lives in the same house that she grew up in.
She seemed to me very vocal and outgoing and feisty and spunky, or whatever you want to call it. She wasn't a shrinking violet, didn't feel like to me.
No.
For date going missing.
The 23rd.
Deborah Farland goes missing. Her family reports her a short time later. Her vehicle is located in the neighborhood where she lived. Deborah went missing for approximately 2 months before she was located by hunters next to a railroad track.
There were little remains left of Deborah when she was found, and no remains of her unborn child. She was actually identified by dental records. However, we have no cause of death. But with no trauma to her skull, strangulation is definitely a possibility.
All right, so who all do we want to put up on the suspect board?
I would say Robert Price would be number 1. She was dating and supposedly had got pregnant by him. The issue with that was he was engaged to be married to another woman, and that date was quickly approaching.
So the month she goes missing is the very month he marries somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay.
We know he was violent.
What did he do to Deborah?
Grabbed her by the throat and threw her off the porch.
She goes into the hospital. She had some good injuries, and this is what led to her filing the lawsuit against him?
Yes.
9/24, Robert doesn't show up in court.
Which is going to be the day after we think it happened. Ooh, that's a good one. I got a civil lawsuit on me, and I got a criminal case filed on me. His world is crashing down because of this woman.
And supposedly she has my baby.
Robert Price was having a relationship with multiple women at the same time he was abusing his pregnant girlfriend, Deborah, and both were catching up to him. He had plenty of motive to want Deborah out of his life for good.
So next we're going to put up Leila Thomas Price. Been with Robert 10 years.
They're high school sweethearts. Then the younger Deborah Farland comes in.
Leila and Robbie Price got married September 5th, just a few weeks before the murder.
Deborah parked outside the wedding and watched it, basically.
That had to really set them off.
I mean,
Yeah.
she's driving by the houses and ringing doorbells.
Where Leila lived.
Just in her face.
Deborah and Leila had been at each other's throats for months, taunting and harassing each other, which was especially easy because Leila and Robert lived right across the street from Deborah.
Me and another detective went over a few years ago and talked to Leila at her door. She wouldn't come out. We had a very brief conversation at the door. She didn't know anything, she didn't remember anything, and she hadn't talked to Robert in years.
Just like Robert, Leila had more than enough reason or motive to want Deborah out of her life. You know, I've seen my share of female killers. I have not seen very many that would kill a pregnant woman. Well, I think it's also important to talk about with her. I mean, they got married September 5th of 87, and she files for a divorce May 26th of 88. That's pretty fast. And does any of all this have to do with filing for that divorce?
Yeah.
You may have struggled, you may have lied. Maybe you're hopeless, mixed up inside.
I guess now Deborah's mom, Emma, is 91 years old.
This will be my first time meeting her.
It'll be nice to find out more about Deborah's personal life, you know, her pregnancy, how much she vented about Robert Price, and I would love to see if these ladies know more about their lives and Leila's life. Back in 1987, a lot of people in this town felt like the Kankakee Police Department didn't do a really thorough job looking into this case.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Especially Deborah Farland's family. I'm Kelly. And I think that what we want them all to know is today, it's a whole different world of cops looking at this case, and we're going to do every single thing that we can to get as far as we can in trying to solve this case. We got lots to talk to y'all about. Y'all called her Tina, huh? How'd you get Tina?
My mom started because she was a sickly child.
Sick, the puny one.
The sick and puny one.
When she was baby, when she was young.
She was very outgoing. She had lots of friends. She was very poised. She loved cartwheeling, turning flips. She loved modeling, and she was doing modeling.
She loved show choirs and bands because she wanted to form a band.
Okay.
She was a singer. She was my older sister, but she was like my best friend. Last time I saw her was September 18th. Days went by, we didn't hear anything. And then my dad got a call from the detectives. They said that remains had been found. We just had bones, you know. And to hear my father cry, it was like gut-wrenching. How do you sleep at night knowing that you did this to not only her, but to an unborn child?
When were you guys made aware of the pregnancy?
I think she was about, 3 months in.
It was easy to tell. She was very much showing. She was wearing
Maternity clothes, yep.
Did she tell you she was pregnant by Robbie?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Did you ever hear from Tina what Robbie thought about Tina being pregnant?
No.
If he was excited, if he was upset, we don't know.
She never said anything about that.
What was Tina's thoughts on, I'm pregnant with this man and I'm going to make sure he's involved with the baby or not, or child support or not?
She never said anything about him being involved.
Okay. I was really hoping that we would learn a little bit more about Deborah's relationship with Robert from her family, so this is a little frustrating. Then again, maybe an affair with an abusive, soon-to-be married man is not something you talk a whole lot about with your family.
When I discovered that he was living with the woman down the street, I kept saying, what are you doing? You know, why don't you just leave him alone? And she said, I'm going to leave him alone. I'm not going to be bothered with him anymore.
Okay.
But then turn around, she would be off with him again. But the problem would be Leila. Tina is dating Robbie, and Leila is angry and upset about that.
Want to find out truth. Want to find out whether Robert had a thing to do with it. Could not be, could be, whoever. Want to be fair with it. 'cause she gone. Somebody killed her, took her life, and took her child's life. And, the police didn't find nothing, couldn't find out who did it either. Maybe they did their best and maybe they didn't. But they never did come up with nothing. And I've been waiting. I got patience. I'm still waiting.
We got to get some leads here on who she was dating or who she might have talked to.
This is a 1987 case. Deborah Farland and her unborn baby. The evidence, because it's such an old case, there's just not a lot of it. There aren't a lot of witnesses. There's not a lot of physical evidence.
Yeah, it's got to be tough tracking people down this far after.
And then they've given beautiful statements in 1987. And it's like, I said that? I don't remember anything.
Every time you work on a cold case, you start out thinking like it's day one, trying to feel fresh. This time, though, it really does feel like it's day one.
Got your camera on? Recording.
Yep.
We want to do our very best to find any of Deborah's old friends or co-workers or relatives who can tell us something, anything about Deborah or any of the suspects in this case.
Hi, how are you?
We're looking for Carlotta Aldridge.
That's me.
You're not in any trouble, just relax.
No, yeah, we're actually here to jog your memory a little bit and see if you can tell us anything about an old case of ours with Deborah Farland. She went by Tina.
Oh my gosh.
Back in the 80s.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think I called her something else.
Tina?
Tina, probably.
Tina.
Yeah.
I did.
Tina.
You got goosebumps on me. That's been so long ago.
Yeah.
But I do remember that happening.
Do you remember any men in her life at that point in time?
Mm-hmm.
Who rings a bell for you?
There's only one.
Okay.
Robert Price.
Do you know anything about their relationship or anything like that?
It was tumultuous
Why do you say that?
because it was a triangle. She was messing around with some married guy. She had got pregnant.
Did she tell you anything about how he took the news that she was
He
pregnant
wasn't
by
happy
him?
about it.
She was pregnant, and then she was, I guess, by some guy who was getting married.
Okay.
She was upset by that, and she said she was going to stand up at the wedding and detest the wedding, but I don't know if she ever did that or not.
Do you remember anything about her and Robbie getting into an altercation at the house?
Well, Lena May did. They had a little spat.
Who was that?
Lena May. Lena May would ride past Debbie's house, and they would fight. They were in the street, they were fighting. That's pretty strong to be fist fighting over a guy.
There's a well-documented history here by the Kankakee Police Department of conduct by not only Deborah, but also by Leela. Deborah filed multiple police reports that Leela was stalking her, harassing her, including throwing rocks and stones at her car. And then Leela also contacted police about Deborah's behavior, including street fights where Deborah produced karate sticks and Leela produced a gun, all over Robert.
Miss Evelyn, back then when you talked to the police, you had the date down that you last saw Debbie.
It was the 22nd. She had come over to your place to eat some pizza.
You were the last person that saw her.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
What do you remember?
She was nervous. That's when she told me she thought somebody was following her.
Okay.
She was right, because she's not here anymore.
And after that night, you don't remember ever seeing her again?
I didn't. I never saw her again.
Fortunately, a lot of people are remembering Deborah's love triangle and that Robert wasn't too happy about the fact that she was pregnant, which we're thinking might very well be his motive. But it seems like Robert kind of wanted to distance himself from the relationship, but his then fiancée Leela was not backing down from that fight.
Sit on the furniture.
Oh, Lord, I want to say the one with the handcuff.
Deborah's sister Beverly wasn't able to meet with us the other day when we talked to Deborah's mom and her other sisters, so she's come in today to tell us what she knows and also to hopefully help us make sense of some of Deborah's old writings.
Let's start off with the relationship between Tina and Robbie.
Tumultuous.
Tumultuous?
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't a good relationship. I really didn't care for Robbie at all. To me, I felt like he was a little too old for my sister, and he was already in a relationship.
Yeah.
When he tossed her off the porch, that's when I told her, get away from him and stay away from him. My dad used to tell us, if a man hits you one time, he's going to hit you again.
So these are the letters in your sister's purse. When the police discovered Deborah's abandoned car, inside the car they also saw some letters that she had left behind that she had written to Robert. She clearly never gave him the letters, but maybe she was planning to do that. In any case, the letters still give us pretty clear evidence of her state of mind back then.
Did you have a nice weekend? Me too. Anyway, the baby will not get aborted. It's too late. It's our responsibility to see to it that it is well taken care of. No, I won't be leaving. I'll be right here in Kankakee. I love you dearly, but at this point there is no need to further prolong a one-way relationship. Hey, you and Leela appear to be having a blast pulling bullshit on people together. So I tell you what, stay with Leela because I don't have time for you anymore. And P.S., it's definitely over. Deborah. That's her signature right there. I should have lost it when I fell. Must be here for a damn good reason. And we're both, especially you, will provide for the baby. Never seen the letters, never knew anything about them.
So think about that. Those letters kind of show the true state of their relationship. And those letters are sitting in Tina's purse, and she doesn't give them to him.
She was afraid to give them to him.
I know, but I'm thinking she still talked to him about what's in there and told him the same things.
I mean, this conversation could have gone on.
True.
Way before then.
And it could have been going on for a while, too.
And every time he saw her or whatever, and with her saying the baby is going to be taken care of, back then, it was child support.
Yeah.
She was definitely in love with him. Probably had my sister on a string, and he was playing her like a fiddle because she was 21 years old. She was a baby.
That's right.
That was his toy. And that was the first man that she had ever been with.
We both want you to know that everything that we can think of, every name in the file, everything we can run down, we're trying to do.
I know you are.
It's really hard because the case is 36 years old.
When this man came to my door and he told me that he was looking into my sister's case, I almost fainted because it's been so many years. It gave me some hope that this could possibly be solved. And I can never thank you enough. Detective Anderson, forever thank you. Because I never thought that I would ever hear anybody care about her. We as black women come up missing every single day and nobody cares. Nobody cares. And my sister was one of those people that ended up missing, and her life wasn't good enough for nobody to care, and for you people to care means the world to me.
She's lived her whole life dealing with this. She thought for all these years that nobody cared, and that's just not true. To have to live thinking that, and then for her to be so grateful and so hopeful that we're going to be able to solve this. She's not trying to put any pressure on us, but damn, I hope we can.
Thank you so much.
Where do you want to start from first, Logan?
We're going to be going up towards the Diamond Motel. It's just a little bit outside of Mantino.
This is the hotel that we think that she and Robert were at sometime close to the end.
Yeah, late September.
We don't know exactly how Deborah Farland was murdered and disposed of back in September of 1987, but the police department has a theory, so we want to go check it out.
This is the structure that was the Diamond Motel.
We know that Evelyn last saw Debbie around 10:15.
Yeah.
And Debbie leaves and she's acting kind of nervous, but she had to hook up with who her killer ends up being somewhere, somehow. And you're thinking it's here.
So Cashlyn Smith, who is no longer with us, she remembers seeing Deborah. There was a male in the car, but she never sees the male.
It's believed that because Deborah still lived with her family and Robert lived with Leila, they frequently met at hotels around town to have sex. Back in 1987, there was a clerk at a motel who said in late September there was a night where Deborah rented a room.
She pays for an all-night and then only stays half the night.
When asked if she wanted the 4-hour rate or the all-night rate, Deborah conferred with a black male waiting in his car and told the clerk that they wanted the all-night rate. Strangely, just within a few hours, that clerk heard that car leave the motel. The clerk has since died, so that is all inadmissible, but it does help us form a theory of what happened that night. Do you think when they drive away from this motel, she's still alive?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I don't.
Okay.
So my theory of what happened with Deborah is that this was a crime of passion. It wasn't well planned out. She went to that motel, and she's murdered there, and then placed in the car and just driven a short distance from that motel, carried out and dropped along the side of the railroad tracks.
That wasn't even a mile, was it?
No. The remains would have been in this area right here.
He didn't even cross the railroad tracks.
No, they were on this side of the railroad tracks.
And remind me, how much was she buried or covered up?
She wasn't.
Just dumped,
No.
like dropped.
Yeah.
That's lazier than I thought.
I just think he does the simplest things, and she's dead, dumps her and gets out of here.
Whoever dumped her there simply did just that. They just dropped her there. They didn't make any attempt to bury her or cover her up, so it was a pretty lazy effort at disposing of her body.
Debbie's house is going to be right here.
So this is the house they used to live in.
Yeah.
And then across the street is where Robbie and Leila lived?
It's this one.
Yeah, this is it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then from here, how close is where they end up finding the red Fiero that belonged to Debbie?
A few blocks, but somebody threw the keys in Debbie's mom's house,
Yeah.
flower bed. And then just one street over, that's Robbie's mom's house.
You've got to understand how close everything is in relation to one another. Deborah's car was found close to Robert's mother's house, while her keys were found around the corner at Deborah's house in the flower bed, which was across from where Robert and Leila lived. It's possible that after the murder of Deborah, Robert drives the car, parks it near his mother's house, walks home, realizes he still has the keys, and maybe in some sort of an act of empathy throws them into the flower bed where her mother lives, or just simply to get rid of the keys and leave no evidence behind.
Wonder how he dealt with two cars that night, his car and her car.
I'm thinking she parks her car across from Robbie's mom's house, and then they take his car up there.
But her purse was in it. If she parked her car and got out voluntarily, she would have taken her purse. So then he's still dealing with two cars.
Yep.
Which brings up the better possibility there's two people involved than I appreciated.
I don't know, two people and now they hate each other. Leila, let's see what she says.
That's a good day. Let's knock it off and get back to it tomorrow.
All right, sounds good.
It's hard to believe that Robert would have asked his new wife to help kill his pregnant girlfriend, or if she would have ever even agreed to that back then. Neither one of those makes a lot of sense to me.
I don't.
Can he get a Diet Coke? Do you have any white wine? I'll take a glass of that. So, do you think Leila did it or is involved?
I don't think Leila's involved. I don't think she's involved at all. I just don't. I think she basically gave him the ultimatum. You know, she goes or I go, one of those types of things. And I think Price is so in love with Leila that he's not going to let her go.
Whenever y'all go try to talk to Robbie Price in Kentucky, he's gotten away before with not talking pretty easily.
Right.
So you're going to be catching him flat-footed, hopefully. If he starts coming out with new lines, and he doesn't go as far as any kind of admission or confession, I feel like if he says something like, that wasn't my baby, she was making that shit up, she was pressuring me.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's new stuff. That wouldn't hurt if he said something like that, right?
Right. You know, once you get put into a corner, people come out with all kinds of good stories every once in a while. You know? And I've always thought a lie is as good as a confession at some point.
I do too.
Exit right to I-64 East, Lexington.
Deborah Farland's ex-boyfriend and the alleged father of her unborn child, Robert Price, now lives 300 miles away in Kentucky. The evidence clearly suggests he had the strongest motive to kill Deborah. But what will he say now when we confront him about it?
Hopefully he'll be around. We'll knock on the door and we'll see what happens.
You've arrived. Destination is on your right.
You want to walk up? Hi, Mr. Price. I'm Logan Anderson. I'm from Kankakee City Police. You got a minute that we can talk about an old case concerning maybe one of your friends? Debbie?
Debbie, I don't know.
You don't know Debbie?
Debbie who?
Farlands?
Oh, no.
You don't know Debbie Farlands at all?
Deborah Farland.
Deborah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of had a little off and on relationship.
Leela and Deborah were having some arguments, apparently over you.
Her and Leela had an incident that had jumped off when I wasn't around.
Did Deborah file a civil suit against you at some point?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of? Was there an incident on a porch with Deborah? Pushed off the porch?
Not that I'm aware of.
Allegedly, you pushed Deborah off a porch and she was in the hospital for a week.
Oh, man.
Nothing. Never happened.
That never happened. No.
Never happened. Did Deborah ever accuse you of getting her pregnant?
She never accused me of getting her pregnant. Never.
She never said you were the father of a child?
Never, no.
Did she ever tell you that she was pregnant?
No, she never did.
She never told you that? Did you hear that rumor that she was pregnant? You never knew that she was pregnant?
No.
Did she ever write you any letters or anything like that? Nothing. Nothing.
It wasn't
that way.
It wasn't. It's like you all are trying to make more out of it than what it was.
Okay.
He's downplaying everything. His relationship with Deborah, the fact that she was pregnant, that he's the alleged father, the fact that he allegedly pushed her off the porch, that she filed a lawsuit against him. This is all new to Robert. How can this all be new to Robert? His story has got all types of holes in it.
Debbie was living with her parents. She's not going to hook up at her parents' house. Where would you and Debbie hook up at?
Just wherever, man. You know.
Just wherever?
Yeah, just, you know.
Was there any hotels around the area back in that day?
We went to one hotel.
Did you guys ever go to a hotel in Mantino at all?
No.
Never?
Now, there was another girl that I took to a hotel. Me and her went there, yeah.
Where?
To this hotel up on Route 45.
This girl, when were you with her?
End of my wedding night.
Your wedding night?
Yeah.
Okay. Your wedding night to Leela?
Yeah. Could that have been Deborah?
Oh, no. It was after I had my night out with the guys, I ran into...
Robert denies going to the motel with Deborah. Yet he's now bringing in a third person the night before he marries Leela that he shows up at a motel with. He's actually given us a new witness. That's a good point for us. Do you remember when Deborah went missing?
No, I don't.
Nothing. Deborah had to be making your life hell with Leela May.
No,
Not at all.
No. When you are basically a side chick, you already know what you're already getting involved in.
Unless you get her pregnant, right? You get some woman pregnant, you're never going to break that bond. It's got to be making your life hell.
How you know I got it pregnant?
She was telling people, and she wrote letters about it. She wrote letters about it.
And she never said anybody else's name.
Wow.
Just one person.
So do you deny that you might have had sex with her the night she goes missing?
I don't know.
Read
I
that.
don't know technically when she came up missing.
Late September of '87, about 3 weeks after you're married, it's possible you had sex with Deborah that night?
I don't.
What's possible?
It's possible.
Let me just ask you this. Did you kill Deborah?
No, I didn't.
You're sure?
Positive.
Didn't black out? The last night you saw her, something happened?
I have no reason to hurt her.
That's not true, sir. Not at all.
You had every reason to hurt her.
You're sweating a little bit. You okay? You're not sick, are you?
It's hot.
I'm in a full suit and I'm not sweating at all.
Me either.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm through talking.
Okay. What do you think?
I don't know. He's playing it off, obviously. I think you got as much out of him as you're ever going to get.
Calling Kelly.
Man, we're dying over here. What happened?
Says that he couldn't pin down a time when the last time that he was with Debbie.
He denies that Debbie ever told him that she was pregnant with this kid.
Wait, so he denies that completely?
Completely.
Knowing that she was pregnant.
Well, that's huge, don't you think?
I think it is.
There's no problems between him and Leila Mae that he's out with Debbie at this point.
Okay, so he's saying that there was no friction between him and Leila over Debbie. No friction.
Correct.
That's a good one.
We can prove otherwise on that.
What does he tell y'all about when Debbie goes missing? Is he aware? What does he know about that?
He played like he didn't know anything about it at all.
Y'all got three big things that I feel like we really can disprove.
The three things that he's trying to back away from are the whole relationship motive, the whole reason for why he would want her dead. No friction in our relationship. She never even got pregnant by me, and I never knew she went missing. I mean, could he pick three bigger things to act like he doesn't know about? Y'all got some good stuff, man.
This was a big day.
All right, well, we're going to go try and find Leila, and we'll let you know how it goes.
Sounds good.
All right, good job, man. Ooh. So Leila is across the state line, and then the three things that he said yesterday that we can work with are there was no friction in his marriage with Leila because of Debbie, that he didn't even know Debbie went missing.
He didn't know that she was pregnant with his child.
So if Leila can discount any of those, that's a win. That's a win. We're on our way to speak to Robert Price's ex-wife and Deborah's former enemy, Leila Thomas. She's not only still a suspect in this case, she could hold the key to solving it. Ready?
Yep, as I'll ever be.
We're standing outside.
Good morning. Sorry for bothering you at your home. My name is Todd Kerner. Nice to meet you. I didn't get your name, sir.
Cyrus.
Nice to meet you.
Judge.
We're talking about an old case, Deborah Farland's case. I did talk to Robert. We talked to him yesterday, and I would hate to just go off what he said.
So what did he say?
He made it sound like around the time of Deborah going missing that Deborah wasn't a problem for you guys at all. He made it seem like he didn't have any problems. It was just all these girls that wanted him, you know, right, which is why it sounded kind of
He actually said
funky to me. Exactly. Your reaction is what mine was.
We also have the old reports where Deborah was pretty much a pest to you.
She was.
I know. She threw the rock in the car story, driving by your house story. We have the old police reports. So how could she not be a problem in your relationship?
Exactly.
He's saying none of it ever happened.
And that's not true.
Okay. He also said that he didn't even know that Deborah went missing. He said that.
Exactly.
He said that he never knew that Deborah was pregnant with his baby. Didn't y'all get into arguments about it, you and Robbie?
Yeah, because I told him that I heard that she was pregnant by him.
Did he deny it to you, or did he just...
Yeah, he did.
Going back 36 years ago, if people were thinking you had something to do with it, or you helped move the car, or you got mad enough to where you wanted to kill her, what would you say?
That's not true. She could have dealt with him and not bothered me, and I wouldn't have cared.
Right.
Because I was not in love with him. And she just didn't know that.
We also think that the person who killed her strangled her to death.
He strangled me.
See there? And what was in the middle of that to cause that to happen?
My husband was very jealous, you know, and he did. He choked me once. He did. I was a little terrified. I just couldn't continue with it.
Did you ever think back then that he was involved? Is that kind of part of why you divorced him?
I actually asked him. I said, you didn't have anything to do with that. And he was like, hell no. You know, like, he got an attitude with you.
Leila talked about the relationship she had with Robbie and how much difficulty Debbie was bringing into her life. When we told her what Robbie said yesterday, she called bull on it, and she admitted that during one of their arguments, and they had a lot of them, she said, he put hands on her and tried to strangle her. Honestly, you're a victim too. And, you know, they say in psychology terms that if a man tries to strangle a woman once, he's likely to repeat doing that, which is exactly how we think Debbie was killed. Oh, that was so good. I like her. I really like her. She's going to be a good witness. You tell your DA how good she is. It's so weird to throw a brand new name in the mix, right? We didn't even know about her. We're feeling good about the case, but there's one last potential witness to talk to. The woman that Robert said he was with the night before his wedding, just weeks before Deborah was murdered. We did a little digging, and it looks like she and Robert had a child together.
Are you the that used to run with a Robbie Price?
Yes.
We are actually investigating a cold case from 87. Deborah Farlands, I don't know if the name is familiar to you. Having a thing.
They found their body?
Up in Mantino.
Yeah.
Yep. We know that Robbie obviously had some stuff going on with you. We believe he had some stuff going on with her, and then he also married Layla Thomas at the time. Well, we were kind of wondering how your guys' relationship was.
We sort of parted when I was pregnant with my son in 84.
He said y'all hooked up September of 87.
Yeah, he gave us the interpretation. It was day before his wedding.
He said he was with me.
The night before he got married, yes.
God, no, he was not.
And we know that Debbie had just found out she was pregnant, and she was pressuring Robbie, and she was saying, this baby's yours, you're going to support it. So at that time, what kind of financial pressure was on Robbie from you for your son?
He never claimed him.
Really?
It was a paternity suit. We took him to court.
What year was that? 86?
Yeah.
So when the baby was a year or 2 years old, you're trying to get him to be responsible.
Right. They actually had to garnish his wages because he denied it.
Did Leela know that he was paying child support?
I'm not for sure because his new wife that he's with now never even knew he had a son.
If this woman was really done with Robert well before 1987, then why is he lying about being with her the night before the wedding? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, bye-bye. More importantly, though, now we have a brand new witness who also gives us a better explanation of a possible motive for Robert Price if he's the killer. I think he just was not going to have another pregnant woman wanting child support. He already went through court. He went through the garnishing the wages. He tried denying paternity. He lost. Now he's getting his money stuffed away, and he wasn't going to have it happen again.
Yeah, that's tough to explain to your girlfriend of several years that, whoops, I did it again.
Good morning. With everything that we've learned, we are confident that Layla Thomas had absolutely nothing to do with Deborah Farland's murder. And the circumstantial evidence suggests that Robert Price is solely responsible. Now we're going to help Detective Anderson prepare for his presentation of the case to his state's attorney, Jim Rowe. How many times have you ever had to run down a cold case that's circumstantial?
0.
That's what I figured. That's because it's not very common. I used to be the prosecutor that sat on this side of the desk that all the cops ran those cases down to. Look at me and tell me what was going on with her.
So at some point, Robert and his longtime girlfriend, Leila May, move in across the street from the Farlands family. And Deborah and Robert start hooking up. Deborah ends up getting pregnant, and the relationship starts to go south, and Deborah wants more from Robert.
Yeah, and it's important to set the scene with the way things are building to a crescendo. At this time in his life, Robbie has already gotten another woman pregnant. She's already taken him to court. He's having to pay child support. His wages are being garnished. And now, all of a sudden, here's a new girl saying, I got your baby too. And now talk about these letters.
She's basically telling him that he's not going to get out of this. He's going to end up paying for it one way or the other.
I ain't getting no abortion. You're stuck with me for the rest of your life. The next thing we know is
she doesn't show up for work. She doesn't come back to the house. Her red Fiero is found right around the corner from Robbie Price's mom's house. The keys ended up in the flower bed of the Farlands house.
Rhetorical question. Do you think Debbie threw her own keys in the flower bed? Do you think some random person bothered to go back to her parents' home and throw the keys in the flower bed? Who lives across the street?
Yeah, Robbie.
Okay.
So November 28th, hunters find the remains. One of the hotels that he frequented is approximately half mile to a mile down the road. With the strangulation aspect, Debbie makes a report that Robbie's already battered her. He's got upcoming court dates. And when we talked to Leila, she confirms physical altercations before and after their marriage.
He's training me.
See there?
Yeah, he did. He choked me once.
Okay, so now I think you jump to your interview of him.
We go to Kentucky, we approach Robbie. He denies that he knows that she's missing.
Do you remember when Deborah went missing?
No, I don't.
Nothing.
He claims to have no knowledge that she was pregnant.
Yes, yes.
Even though it caused quite a bit of arguments between Robbie and Leila.
Give me a break. And then what else does he deny? No problem with Leila. Didn't y'all get into arguments about it, you and Robbie?
Yeah, because I told him that I heard that she was pregnant by him.
The three things that he's backing away from are the three biggest pieces of the whole damn case.
Yeah.
Friction in the marriage over a woman, I get the woman pregnant, and I didn't even know she went missing.
He's got everything to lose by her being alive and everything to gain by her being gone.
Yes. Only one person in the world needs to lie, the person who did it. And in the whole wide world, you think somebody else killed her? Well, that's some hell of a coincidental timing. Some random guy happened upon her and killed her when all these things are coming to crash down on his head. Logan, you also get to say there's a community of people out there that think the Kankakee Police Department didn't care back in 1987, and they're wondering how much we care today. And I want you to show them how much we care. And I want you to file this case.
I have plenty of regrets. All of them are soaked in silence.
You should be very proud of yourself.
You know, I'm proud of the team. Everybody really brought this together. There's so much that was done and so much that was looked at that I never would have done and I never would have looked at without the team.
Hello, ladies.
Hello.
You doing okay today?
Yes.
Yes, good, good.
So we called you here today, obviously, to let you know how the case has gone thus far. We've done a lot of work in the last couple weeks. We had the meeting with Jim Rowe from the State's Attorney's Office this morning, and after hearing the facts of the case, he wants to shore up a few last-minute things that he feels are important, but he's confident in filing charges.
Against who?
Robert Price Jr.
Okay. All these years, I wanted to be mad at that man and really hate him, but I wasn't sure whether he was the one who did it or not. And I know tonight she is happy and she gets to rest in peace. It has changed my perspective of the Kankakee Police Department, and Sergeant Anderson is the one who did that. Thank you, Detective Anderson, for sticking with this and believing that you could solve it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
If you trust God, He will see you through. But thank God for favors. He sent this man.
That's right.
Thank you.
I'll never forget our time working here in Kankakee, how Detective Anderson brought us in and gave answers, peace of mind, and hopefully soon justice to Deborah Farland's family. He's a good man and a great cop. Well, it was wonderful meeting you, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for the work.
So
Thank
good.
you.
So good.
Thank you.
I hug you, Miss Emma. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you.